Welcome, my bows and bow ties. All right, so I am the Black Opinionated woman, also known as a bow. So let me just say this before I get right on into it. I am probably going to be in a foul mood today. It is truly like a hump day situation because I had to take a detour. So I don't know what time I'm going to get to work, which means I'm already going to be in my feelings. Like, I'm not about this life. And it's rainy outside. All right, so let me get on into it. So the title of this was called Cussgate, but I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm probably going to change the title of this video once I have some time to think about it. So let me just say this. I have 4 kids. I get a cryptic message maybe a week or so ago, and I was in a group chat with a bunch of other parents. Can you please remind your children not to use language at the bus stop? Now, before I finish this story, let me just say, just go ahead and hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Just go ahead and subscribe because you know I'm entertaining. So let's get back to Cussgate. So now, I'm sitting there like, what's going on at the bus stop? Because I drop my kids off at the bus stop anyway. And because I have a healthy fear put into my children about like, hey, like, we're not going to do the shenanigans, right? So I'm thinking like, what happened at the bus stop that I was unaware of, right? So apparently there was Cussgate at the bus stop. Now look, apparently there were some kids that were cussing because, you know, there's various ages at the bus stop where I am, right? And there's a lot of kids at this bus stop because apparently we just, in this neighborhood, we just get it in. Okay, so we've all got a lot of kids. So apparently one of the kids' parents, I guess, noticed that there was some cursing going on. Okay, probably from the older kids. And after finding out, so, I put my sleuth hat on, and I just happened to ask my kids that were in the car with me. I was like, hey, I heard there was some cursing going on at the bus stop last week. You guys know about that? They were like, yes. I'm like, well, what happened? So they're giving me the lowdown on who was cursing. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm sure the parents know. They're probably going to tell their kids, hey, can you, like, not do that? I mean, because we know that kids are going to do things when they're not around their parents, right? So you can't get all up in arms about it, but you can correct the behavior. You'd be like, hey, cut it out. Like, let's dead that, right? But what was so interesting about Cussgate was, I get this cryptic message. Now, I'm one of the last to know about everything because I work during the day. And I'm like, what was that about? So when I put my sleuth hat on, my kids are like the informants. They're like Fox 5. They're like Fox News or whatever you want to call it. They have all the, and they're like, this just in, breaking news. When they told me what was going on, and what was interesting was one of the children, I guess, that was around the offenders. The interesting thing about it was when I said, hey, well, what was going on? Why was there all that cursing? And my kids told me, well, the kid, I guess the parent who reported it, right? Well, it's usually that kid, actually. The parent who reported the Cussgate, it's actually that parent's kid, they said, that actually curses all the time. I was like, it was a green eggs and ham moment. They were like, he curses outside, he curses in class, he curses at lunch. It was like, oh my goodness. It's like, oh me, oh my. I will not eat. They were like, he curses all the time. They were like, he curses just because. But it was so funny to me that during Cussgate, because I didn't know what was going on, that the one that reported it, the parents, now granted they're right to say, hey, can we tone down the cursing? Well, it was such a strange text message, right? Because I'm like, well, whoever was doing it, just go to those parents. But we were all put on this group text, and it was kind of passive aggressive. And by the way, the parent that reported, I actually like this parent, but I was just kind of like, that was just a strange text. Like, why? But anyway, what was so funny about it were my kids, when they were explaining Cussgate to me, they were like, the main one who cusses is the one. I was like, wait, what? This kid gives off very, like innocent, vibes, hey, we're gonna, like, shelter the child. Good kid. But they were like, no, this one curses all the time. Next thing you know, they're telling me about another child who like was throwing hands, cussed somebody out, threw hands, punched somebody in the neck. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So this spilled over into some school stuff. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting. Why did I bring up Cussgate? It's so interesting how, as parents, you never know what your kids are like when they're not at home. And as a parent, sometimes you will perceive children one way, come to find out your children will be like, oh really? That is a mean offender. So now, when Cussgate happened at the time, there were text messages behind the scene like, what is this? Like, because there was confusion, like, because we got the text message like, hey, be careful at the bus stop. I'm like, you miss a day, you miss a lot at the bus stop. All this is going down at the bus stop. I'm clearly walking around like, what happened? And luckily that day my kids weren't part of anything, but it doesn't mean that they couldn't be a part of it. And so my kids were giving me the full lowdown, like, oh no, this is what goes down. And they're like, this is what goes down when you're not at the bus stop. So-and-so just lets it rip. Oh my goodness. But look, let me just say this. It's just amazing how you have a perspective on what you think is going on with your kid. And the kid is a good kid, by the way. Totally good kid. But it was just so funny after all of that. After I put my sleuth hat on and I had my little magnifying glass, like what's going on? And I had to put my kids on the stand. I'm like, now, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth? And I'm like, well, and they sing like birds. They're like, it was so-and-so. And so anyway, after going back and forth with some parents, I'm like, I found out what happened during Cussgate. And everything that people were all confused and everything that we thought was completely different. And I do believe my kids because they didn't know that they were going to be questioned on the stand. Now, when I questioned them about Cussgate, who was cussing at the bus stop, they sang like birds. They were just a chirp, 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 chirp. But because they didn't know it was coming, because this is days later, they didn't know it was coming, and when they spoke, it was in sync. Those two, my twins, oh yes, they were like, well, it was that. They did not hold back. And then so-and-so curses all the time. And so-and-so tells so-and-so to do this. And they told everything. Anyway, you never know what your children are like when they're not in your purview. You have an idea, but they have two personalities, Jekyll and Hyde. So when they're around their peers and everything, people want to be who they're going to be. You get the truth when you start really talking to your kids, because like when you listen to conversations and they don't know you're listening, that's how you learn a lot. But then when you ask them questions, and I didn't even make a big deal of it, it's like, hey, what happened during the so-and-so? Oh my. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. It was funny to me after all of that. The one who's really involved with a lot of it on a regular. Now, I'm not blaming this child at that time during Cussgate at the bus stop, but they were like, but he does it all the time anyway. Playing outside, school, lunch, it doesn't matter what it is. He just does. He just curses all the time. And I just thought it was interesting. So, all right. I was originally going to do one about the couch in my basement. But Cussgate was just so funny to me. And I'm probably the only one who found humor in this. But yes, the parent who was concerned about other children cursing around their child, come to find out that child curses all the time. All right. Look, go ahead. Hit that thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. I might come back on about this couch that's in my basement. I mean, I'm going to have to start an argument with my husband about this couch. We need to get rid of it. All right. Black Opinionated Woman out.